Hello everyone and welcome to our online Ramadan event, Standing Together as a Cohesive Society during Covid-19. We are very excited and grateful to be here with you today. Ideally, we would have been engaging in person rather than through the internet, through this YouTube stream, sharing delicious food and drink with those breaking their fasts, but evidently that is not possible this year round. We hope that all our viewers are safe and well and will enjoy the discussions and the program we have lined up for you all today. My name is Uğur and I will be hosting and moderating this virtual iftar program on behalf of the Dialogue Society and Fellowship Educational Society. Having grown up and lived in Basingstoke for most of my life, I have also been involved with both charities from a very young age. So I wanted to begin by showing you a photo of the Basingstoke Gazette that I've kept of me at the age of 9 at an iftar tent organized by these charities and participating in this community which I wholeheartedly love and belong to. So, for those of us at the Dialogue Society and Fellowship Educational Society, Ramadan has always been an essential part for the work that we do. We try our hardest to tune in on the messages and significance of a cohesive community to become united across all our convictions, so our faiths, our beliefs, races, genders, and many more things that seemingly separate us. We believe Ramadan is an opportunity to embrace our differences and to learn from one another in order to unify us and to stand together, stronger together as a community. Moreover, this pandemic has shown particularly that we as humans in our very nature turn to each other for strength and hope, with hundreds of thousands of us signing up to volunteer for the NHS and other organizations, and our unified Clap for Heroes as a couple of examples, as well as the local community in Basingstoke. We have illustrated that we see the strength, love, and community in our diversity. Not as individuals, but as a community, we strive and we succeed. The social process of coming together shows that we need one another to learn empathy and care from one another, to unify, first at a local level in our town Basingstoke, and then at a wider level as British society. This month, volunteers at Fellowship Educational Society in Basingstoke have also shown their continued efforts, delivering just over 50 food packages to those who need it most across Basingstoke. Furthermore, volunteer families have baked and cooked for frontline workers at the NHS. Here is a touching piece of feedback that was given to us that I wanted to share with you. Hi. I do not have words to describe the appreciation to you and to your fellowship. The food was absolutely amazing and was enjoyed by everyone. The picture drawn by the children melted our hearts. Many of us were in tears. Please accept my sincerest thank you on behalf of the community mental health team for older adults. You truly are amazing and are giving us strength to carry on with the job we care about. Now, without further ado, we will begin by watching a video on Ramadan and then a short clip prepared by young attendees of Fellowship's weekend schools before then going on to listen to our distinguished community guests, faith leaders, and important members of the community.
Ramadan. Have lots of delicious foods in iftar. Happy Ramadan Mubarak.
May Allah fill your home with warmth and peace. Happy Ramadan.
I wish you a happy, peaceful Ramadan Mubarak.
Welcome Ramadan. Walk humbly, talk politely, dress neatly, treat kindly, pray attentively, donate generously. May Allah bless you and protect you. Happy Ramadan, everyone!
Ramadan Mubarak, everyone!
So without further ado, I would like to pass on my virtual mic to our first speaker, who is the Mayor of Basingstoke and Deane, Diane Taylor. Diane, can you hear me? I'm not sure we can hear you, so maybe there's a technical issue, or if you're perhaps muted. Diane, if you perhaps try speaking one more time, and if not, we'll pass on to the Deputy Mayor and then we'll come back to you. Okay, we cannot hear you. Okay, so therefore, just to change the order around really quickly, a technical issue, as it does happen a lot with technology, I'd like to pass it on to Onnalee Cubitt, the Deputy Mayor of Basingstoke.
Okay, thank you, and very nice to meet you all. Your well, she's just left, but I was going to say your worshipful Madam Mayor, the Mayor of Basingstoke, Councillor Diane Taylor, Imam Mohammad, Your Excellency the Most Reverend David Williams, the Bishop of Basingstoke, and all other esteemed guests joining us here this evening. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this kind invitation. This is my first invitation to join an iftar evening. And as with everything at the moment, due to this dreadful pandemic, nothing is normal, but hey, we're flexible and we're inventive peoples. My name's Councillor Onnalee Cubitt, and I'm the Deputy Mayor of Basingstoke, as Ur said. I grew up in this borough like Ur, and I moved away for university, and I spent my early career as an international banker, working for a bank called Standard Chartered Bank. So I managed to visit many countries. Despite being based in London, I travelled often to Africa, to Europe, including Turkey, which has a very large place in my heart, Dubai and India. And during these, so I value hugely diversity, but also a celebration of our differences and how it makes us so much stronger. During these difficult times for many, and times of enforced separation and solitude for some, it is great to remind ourselves that as a community in Basingstoke, when we stand together, we can achieve so much more from our collective community, whether it's the street champions helping the vulnerable, the elderly in each street, or the food banks, or the schools helping the most vulnerable children, or your wonderful society handing out food packages. And I can't thank you enough, and I can't thank all the volunteers who are possibly listening in on this YouTube tonight. I salute all of our wonderful volunteers, and I'm so proud of what's been achieved so far, both in Basingstoke and I think we should be hugely proud of what's been going on in the country. So if I could say, it's a huge honour for me to be here with you all tonight. I look forward to this evening, and I pray that you all stay well and stay safe, and God bless you.
Thank you for your very kind words, Onnalee, and it's great to hear that you are aware of the great activities and efforts that the volunteers at Fellowship and Dialogue strive to do in Basingstoke. I'm not sure if the technical issue has been sorted, but if Diane Taylor, our mayor, is able to, would she be able to join back in and perhaps speak? It seems not, I think. So again, we'll have to move on and come back later. So I'd like to invite Dr. Hakan Gök, a fellow at Leeds Beckett University in the Research Centre for Governance, Leadership and Global Responsibility, to speak shortly about Ramadan.
Well, hi everyone. This is one of the most awkward iftar I have ever attended. Normally, I said to my wife, there is a special event, I'm joining the iftar program. She says, we are under a lockdown, you can't get out. I said, it is a virtual iftar. So I'm upstairs in my office. So this is one of the odd iftars whereby there is no food, just the office. But we are learning new things every day. And this Ramadan, this year, 2020, is teaching us completely new things. I didn't prepare anything, so I'm just speaking from my heart. Nothing has been scripted. I was listening to this Dutch scholar recently, and he said, we all think economy is one of the biggest problems, or ecology is one of the biggest problems. And he said, but in reality, the term he used, egology, is one of the biggest problems of the 21st century. So we all want more, I mean, human beings in general, and we are never satisfied with what we have. iPhone is a good example. I give my daughter iPhone 10, and before the year is out, she wants the newer one because we want more. We are consuming, more than people keep up with manufacturing. So we put ourselves at the center of the universe. So this is, according to this Dutch scholar, is the biggest problem of the 21st century. He says we can sort out our economy. We can sort out our ecology. I mean, the evidence is out there. We've been locked down for 40 days and the nature is cleaner, air is fresher. So these are all curable problems. Whereas egology, ego, everybody says me first. I don't care about anybody else. He says this is the biggest problem. So I'll make a connection between his diagnosis and what we do these days. So ego and selfishness, in other words, is the biggest problem of the modern era. What fasting teaches us, I've been fasting, this is my 27th day. I'm a big kid, I like eating. I can't start my day without my coffee, and people don't approach me. They say, oh, don't go anywhere close to him, he hasn't had his coffee. I'm that sort of person. But suddenly something magical happens. I've been, not drinking, not eating for 17, 18 hours. And I become someone completely different. I become a spiritually better person. And I'm asking myself, how come? I mean, what is different between now and a month before Ramadan? I think fasting purifies you, makes you put yourself in other people's shoes, and it makes you think about your life and the meaning of life differently. Suddenly you're so happy with a glass of water, slice of bread, and suddenly things make a lot more sense, and you have a massive empathy for others. On a normal day, we are choosing between should we go to that restaurant or that cafe or that bistro, but when you're fasting, you can't go. So you suddenly start appreciating the value access to all those bounties. Now, everybody is fasting in a sense because of COVID-19, but this makes us think about other less advantaged people around the world. So you become more charitable and you put yourself in their place and you really, really appreciate what you have in Britain. So it tells us how lucky we are. So fasting makes you appreciate more and empathize more on other people. It's a special month. We have got only 2-3 days left. Yeah, I had a colleague, Rebecca, years ago. We were a bunch of guys fasting. She said one day, she says, right, today I'm not eating or drinking because I'm fasting. I said, Becky, how come you suddenly decided to fast? She says, when you guys are fasting, because it was mainly male-dominated workplace, she said, when you guys are fasting, you become very different. I admire you. I just wanted to copy the feeling. And she says, all right, what time are you getting up in the morning to eat? What is the cutoff time? And what is the time to eat again? She actually did, one full day of fasting. And her argument was, you guys are very different when you're fasting. And she wanted to copy that feeling. It is true. You become someone different and you become more tolerant, more understanding, more patient, and you appreciate more what you have in life. Well, it is fantastic to see you all. And thanks for having me in this beautiful platform. Thank you. I pass the microphone to the moderator, Ur.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hakan Gök. And I share your reflections in a sense that this period especially has made us more wary of the less fortunate in society, and fasting has only exemplified how we, in this situation, especially in this year, that we need to connect more with people that need it and need our help where we can give it. Okay, without further ado, let's move on to our next speaker. In fact, we have a short video that is been prepared by the Dialogue Society that we'll be watching, and then we'll be moving on to our next speaker.
Hi, I'm Francis, and during lockdown I'm trying to find lots of creative things to do with baby Daniel. And we've had lots of good ideas from my friend Laura for music and sensory activities to do together.
Hi, I'm Nancy Platts, leader of Brighton and Hove City Council. During lockdown I've been upcycling this little desk that I bought from the flea market in Kemp Town.
Hi there, I'm Jane, and I'm using this COVID crisis as an opportunity to get on with some painting, and where could be better than one's own back garden.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome. This is Tamkin Riaz. During lockdown COVID-19, I'm at home, but I still keep my routine in after 5. Then I'll be on, FaceTime and WhatsApp and Skype, etc., talking to the children, grandchildren, and friends. So that's me. Yeah, lockdown. Keep yourself healthy and wealthy. Your health is your wealth.
I'm staying home making English paper-pieced patchwork quilts. Here's the one I'm working on at the moment, made of old curtain fabrics. There's some of the papers. And this is one I made a while ago from old shirts. It's a great way to recycle fabrics, and it's also a very good way of staying calm and creative.
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Ajay Hussain. I live in Rochester. I came out here to Pakistan in South Kashmir end of February actually. So people are occupying themselves with reading, zikr, Quran, but also daily life goes on. So this is what it's all about here.
I'm Max Farah. My escape from the lockdown is the beautiful park in Leeds called Roundhay Park and looking at the swans.
My name's Onnalee Dodds. I live in Oxford, where I'm one of the members of Parliament. I've been asked to take part in this project by one of my constituents. I think as we stay at home, it's really important that we look out for others. And I've been so impressed by all the work that's going on to do that. Whether it's ringing an elderly neighbour or offering to help somebody out with their shopping, there's so much that communities are doing together. Let's keep that going, even after we get out of this crisis.
Hi everyone, my name is Iffy, and this is a quick message just to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting their communities, looking after the vulnerable and supporting the NHS. And please, please, please continue to stay at home so it can enable us to fight coronavirus and flatten the curve.
I think it's really interesting to see how others have spent their lockdowns in different ways all across the country and all across the world. People of different faiths, backgrounds and different cultures essentially. I've been spending most of mine doing my dissertation, so slightly different. But hopefully, third time lucky, I won't keep blagging on. We'll hopefully connect to Diane Taylor, the mailer of Basingstoke and Deane. And this is our final go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Diane. Brilliant. Finally. Great.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yep.
Am I clear?
Very clear. And the microphone is over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Sorry about that. I obviously did something wrong, but my granddaughter has obviously put me right. So thank her. Here I am. I'm sitting wearing my chain because it doesn't get many outings at the moment. So I thought I'd take it out and put it on. So this is a slightly more introductory talk, since I was supposed to go first, but it's really obviously all about the theme, which is how we're working together during this coronavirus outbreak. So when I became mayor back in May last year, I chose a theme for the year, as you do, and that theme was one that I really do believe in, working together for the good of all. Little did I know when I chose that phrase that 10 months later it would have such a significance. Little did I know that a most unusual crisis would hit us and that working together to deal with that crisis would be absolutely vital. The importance of being able to work together has been at the forefront of my thinking for many years. I don't know if the tale of the great big enormous turnip has translated across many cultures. It's actually a Russian tale. It's by Tolstoy. And it's a very simple children's story. And I think in many ways it says it all about working together. A grandfather plants a turnip. It grows so big that he can't pull it up. He calls grandma. She pulls with him. They can't do it. He gets successive members of the family and they all together try and pull it up. They can't do it. They call the cat and the dog. They join in. He can't do it. They can't do it. In the end, a little mouse comes and joins the gang to pull up the turnip, and up it comes. A simple tale, but I think it's rather sweet because it really does talk about the value of working together. And too often you see people and organisations working in isolation. Several groups might be working towards a similar aim, but all too often they become, in a sense, rivals rather than co-workers. And I've seen this happening all too often, and I still see it happening today. But I do think the tide is turning, and I think the current coronavirus crisis might have helped. And there's a sense in this country that, as you know, that we're in a kind of war. And as we know from history, to win a war, you have to work together for the common good. And there's a principle at work here, and it's all about focus. Put simply, when there's a job to be done, we can either put our main focus on ourselves, on our own recognition, on our own reputation, similar to what was being said before, looking for our kudos. And that is, to be honest, a natural human instinct. Or we can put our main focus on the aim, on the person or on the people that we're trying to help. If we do the first of these, we will achieve something. But if we do the second of these, working together, we will achieve so much more. So working together with others and keeping an eye on what we're wanting to achieve multiplies our effectiveness. And during this current crisis, I've often been asked to single out various people and organisations who've done a particularly good job. And of course, it's good to do that because everybody does need encouragement, and encouragement is so helpful. But I know that for every person or group that is applauded publicly, there are hundreds of others just getting on with the job behind the scenes, whether it's the person looking after themselves in isolation, looking after their own family, looking out for their road, looking out for their neighbours, or perhaps a local group looking after their village or their district. Perhaps it's an individual charity, or those who are working with the two councils, who are overarching support for the whole region. During this crisis in Basingstoke, we've created layers of help. And I think that's ensured, hopefully, we'll hear about it at the end, I'm sure, that people haven't slipped through the net. And of course, over and above all of this, we have the NHS and the care professions who've been literally risking their lives to help the vulnerable. It has been an amazing effort. And I feel that at times like this, our own differences fade into the background. When we're fighting a common enemy side by side, it doesn't matter if our cultures are different, doesn't matter about different faiths, different colours of skins. If we attach ourselves to a different political ideology from someone else, you suddenly realise that all that isn't so very important. Those differences can so easily separate us and breed suspicion and even enmity, fade into insignificance when there is an important job to be done, when lives need to be saved and our fellow human beings are in trouble. As many of you know, there have been huge positives for some people in this lockdown. Some people have recharged their batteries, they needed a good rest. Parents have connected with their children like never before. Our air has become cleaner and our waterways less polluted. Some families are like this, having Zoom meetings and perhaps meet together more than they normally do. As a nation, we've really expressed our gratitude to the care industries, to the NHS, and elevated that whole profession. And I hope that as an outcome of this crisis, recruitment to them will rise as well. And all of that, of course, is apart from the great positive that we're talking about this evening, the notion of working together as friends and not as rivals, putting aside differences, putting aside suspicions that might separate us. Most important of all, I think, there's a sense around that every single life is valuable, that the lives of the elderly and the infirm, that the lives of people with chronic health problems, they are all worth fighting for, and they're worth making sacrifices for. And just in conclusion, there's a famous phrase that was coined actually by the Scottish author Robert Burns 250 years ago that talks about man's inhumanity to man. And it only takes a look around some of the things that we hear about around the world to realise that there are atrocities, unspeakable atrocities, going on everywhere and have always done. But today, we're focusing not on man's inhumanity to man, but on man's humanity to man. And I just want to focus on the many good deeds, the many good intentions, and the reverence for human life and well-being that we've seen of late. Our sense of community during this current crisis, our sense of working together, has grown greatly over the past few weeks. My hope is that we won't lose this when life gets back to normal, and that we will naturally maintain our desire to help others, shoulder to shoulder, as friends and co-workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diane. And like you said, we really need to keep this community feeling, this loving atmosphere that I felt in my street, in my town, going after, hopefully, when this all ends very soon. Okay, let's move on to our next speaker, who is Joanne Jakymec, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, who is the Chief Crown Prosecutor of Wessex.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I just want to thank the Fellowships Educational Society for inviting me to speak once again at one of your Ramadan iftar events, albeit there's no dinner this evening, and we are doing a very excellent virtual experience. These are really difficult times, and I am genuinely honoured to be part of this event. As you've heard, my name is Jo Jakymec, and I am responsible as the Chief Crown Prosecutor for all the prosecutions that take place in the counties of Hampshire, the Isle of Wight, Dorset and Wiltshire. For those of you who don't know, the Crown Prosecution Service prosecutes all criminal cases that have been investigated by the police and other investigative organisations. We're independent, and that's really important to us because it means that our decisions are entirely independent, and we're not influenced by police partners or the government. We work on the facts and the public interest in individual cases. We have a really clear duty to make sure that the right person is prosecuted for the right offence and to deliver justice on behalf of our community and the victims of crime. Victims and witnesses and all of our communities are who we serve, and they remain throughout at the heart of everything that we do. On that note, it's really important to me to highlight that personally the work we do with our communities and the opportunity for me to join events like this is greatly improved when we understand the concerns and needs of our local people, and maintaining public confidence is something within the criminal justice system which is absolutely essential and vital. We're dedicated to working with all parts of our community and society, and we have a lead individual. His name is Lindsay Cooper, who actually is our dedicated inclusion, community and engagement manager. So these type of events are perfect in relation to Lindsay getting across and delivering her objectives. Lindsay's responsible for ensuring that we reach every part of our wonderful diverse society. And an example of how we do this is through our local scrutiny and involvement panels, where we come together to support one another and to improve. We have panels that relate to hate crime, violence against women, girls, men and boys, and modern slavery and human trafficking. And it's really important that when we deliver justice, that we are open and transparent, and that those scrutiny panels, our stakeholders and community members, have full access to recently prosecuted cases so that we can listen to their feedback, take on board their recommendations and improve the way that we prosecute. We also have dedicated victim liaison unit that ensures that any decision making is properly explained really clearly to those who are involved. As I mentioned, one of our panels involves hate crime, and it saddens me that there is usually, unfortunately, an increase in hate crime during Ramadan. Additionally, this year, during the COVID virus pandemic, we have also seen perceptions posted on social media that Muslims are not observing lockdown, and those false ideas are dangerously being shared with others. But I want to make it really clear that that's not acceptable, and that police partners and the Crown Prosecution Service work really hard together to deliver justice. I know that that's very easy for me to sit here and say to you, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about what that looks like in real life. In our area, in Wessex, which includes Hampshire and obviously Basingstoke, we provided advice to police on 564 hate crime cases, where we advised the police to charge 90% of those cases that they sent to us. During the same period, the same year, we completed 571 prosecutions for hate crime in court, where we successfully prosecuted 85% of those cases. We accept there is still more work to be done, and I'm not convinced that all hate crime is being properly reported. And so please do feel comfortable that we and our police partners take any hate crime seriously. And there is no doubt at all that the coronavirus pandemic has caused heartache, anxiety, and fear around the world. However, I think this is a really good opportunity to talk about the positive things that I have seen over the last 8 weeks of lockdown. I believe that the rich diversity of this country has enabled us to stand together in these most difficult times in recent history. I've seen solidarity, I've seen compassion, and I've seen a resurgence in community spirit. I have neighbours who have been previously strangers coming together across all communities and all parts of the country. I've seen people from all faiths supporting each other through deeply challenging times. I do genuinely believe that the pandemic has brought our communities closer together. We are standing together as our community to beat the virus. That's really evident when we stand together to clap for our carers, and we stand together when we stay at home so that we all do our bit to protect the most vulnerable. And we also stand together as we break barriers that divide us and we look after one another. When this virus has passed, when our mosques, churches, schools have started a new kind of normal, as others have said, let us continue to stand together and not lose this unity that we have found. Thank you. I am genuinely honoured to be able to attend and contribute and have the opportunity to speak to you all. And I will pass on Lindsay's details if anybody would like to know any more information about our community partnerships and our projects. And as you come to the end of Ramadan and you move toward the festival of breaking of the fast, I really hope you can find a way to celebrate and connect with your families and your loved ones during these unprecedented times. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joanne, and thank you for all the work that you do to keep our community safe. And on my behalf, personally, thank you for all the great work you do to combat hate crime, something that is sometimes not as much recognized, but is extremely important, like you've iterated. Next, I'd like to pass on to the Right Reverend David Williams, who is the Bishop of Basingstoke.
Thank you, Mr. Host, and thank you, civic and religious leaders. It is a great honour to be invited to an iftar, and one we will never forget for being a virtual one. I was a student in Bristol in 1982. I had very few friends, and the students who lived in the flat below me were from Nigeria. I didn't realise they were Muslims, but during Ramadan they pushed a very gracious invitation on me to eat with them during the evenings, and I learned more than I can tell you in those few evenings together. I learned of hospitality, and I learned of a depth of friendship, of diversity, and of mutual respect. And so to be invited to take part in this one, I find myself remembering my Muslim friends from 1982 when I started that journey. I've put a bowl of dates in front of me. I understand that that says something about the first move of hospitality as you break the fast. And I just have to do that in my imagination tonight. So hospitality and the ability to open our hearts and our homes to each other is, I think, one of the great gifts of Ramadan, as we have so eloquently been given over the last few minutes. It is actually the essence of what it means to live together. When we eat together, something happens. We stop, we start to talk, we share our lives. The great teacher of my own faith, the Christian faith, so often in our scriptures, you find Jesus does his best teaching during a mealtime. And so for me, iftar has many nuances, and I'm absolutely delighted to be invited to take part in this virtual one this year. If hospitality is the first theme, the second theme I want to offer to this panel is the theme of prayer. The Christian community, like the Muslim community, have found that one of the prices we have paid of this isolation and lockdown is that when we have in the past valued deeply the ability to go to our place of worship, to pray, particularly in the Christian season of Lent and in the Muslim season of Ramadan. And I know particularly that's poignant towards the end of Ramadan, when some of those who are really spiritually seeking a deeper way will, even I understand, sleep in the mosque at night and really spend the night after night in teaching and in prayer. So I want to say, I want to stand with you in my prayers and in your prayers to say that we need to take this journey, and we need to take it in different ways when we can't go to the places we're used to going to. On that same theme of prayer, again, one of the most moving requests I've ever received was from a dear Muslim friend of mine some years back. He asked to have a private conversation with me. And he said, David, I'm about to go on pilgrimage. I'm about to do the Hajj. I was very interested. I wanted to know what this journey was going to be for him. But he didn't come to tell me anything. He came to ask me something. And this is something I will never forget for the rest of my life. He said, David, will you pray for me every day that I am on the Hajj? For me, that was one of the most precious things anyone could ask of another human being. And I look forward in the years to come of other places where we discover together what it is to deepen our spiritual lives, to deepen our encounter with God. So if hospitality and prayer are my first two themes, if I can offer the panel and those who are watching on YouTube, the third theme I wonder if I might offer is the theme of neighbours. The worshipful, the Mayor of Basingstoke, spoke of that wonderful phrase, working together for the good of all. And every time we face a crisis, I think there's a renewed imperative on all of us, in all our diversity, to say, what can we do together for the common good? Whenever we face external or internal threats or things that cause us fear, then there is an imperative, I think, for us to work together as neighbours in a common cause. I don't know the Quran very well, and I hesitate to offer something from your own spiritual tradition, but I will take the risk. I understand that when the Prophet of Islam was asked, who is my neighbour? I understand he said, look in one direction and go 40 houses that way. And then go in the other direction, 40 houses that way. And then in the third direction, 40 houses. And then in the fourth direction, 40 houses. Those people are your neighbours. And if we did that simple arithmetic in our own communities, our social geography would change completely if we were to say 40 houses in each direction. These are my neighbours. What an amazing, diverse community we would have. Our neighbours would be indeed near neighbours, and neighbours would become friends, and we would work together for the common good. Ladies and gentlemen, the gift of hospitality in Ramadan, the commitment to prayer in Ramadan, and the commitment to being good neighbours together in Ramadan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Reverend David. Personally speaking, I was very touched by your personal anecdotes, but I think a lot of those lessons, those 3 lessons that you've shared with us just now, is a shared belief amongst various different faiths, both Abrahamic and beyond the Abrahamic faith as well. So I'd like to pass it on to another faith leader now, Imam Mohammad of Basingstoke Albirr Mosque, who is the Imam of the mosque. Over to you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon all of you and Allah's blessings and mercy. Thank you for inviting me to this iftar, the virtual iftar. Although there's no food, but your speeches and your talks are a food to our mind and spirituality. So I would like to thank everyone and the fellowship for all the efforts and hard work they're putting to bring us all together. In Islam, the religion Islam, one of the principles, like all the other faiths, is the sacredness of neighbors. The neighbors are sacred, and saving life, protecting life is also sacred. It is more important than having the mosques open. It is more important than fasting. It's more important than anything else. These things, neighbor, community, protecting lives, saving lives, these are priority in our religion. The Quran says, whoever saves a life whoever saves his life is as though he has saved the entire humanity. And likewise, whoever kills alive, whoever commits murder, is as though he has committed murder against the whole of humanity. And so saving lives, protecting lives, saving the NHS, saving the community around us, and doing the right thing is one of the principles, most important principle in Islam: protecting life, saving life, social distancing, doing what we are being told in order to beat this pandemic. So, and in regards to neighbors, from our scriptures and from the teachings of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he says something very interesting, and that is that the angel Jibreel, or Gabriel, the angel, the most important angel, the greatest angel who comes down with the revelation, the Prophet Muhammad says that he kept coming to me and reminding me and instructing me in regards to neighbors and neighbors' rights and neighbors' status. And until I thought that maybe this neighbor will be included in the laws of inheritance, and he will also be made to inherit if somebody was to die. So in Islam, neighborhood community is very, very important, and I agree with everything that has been said. The notion of working together as friends, as co-workers, this is these values and principles, we all share them. And also I believe that challenges, hardships make the community bonds, the community relationships far more stronger and far more better. And I noticed this whenever I am at the mosque and people are passing by saying hi and asking about the Muslim community, asking about the community, the Muslim community of Basingstoke, and they ask about the mosque and how things are going. So I can feel the community bonds strengthening during this pandemic and hardship. So although this virus is a challenge, although we are trying to beat this virus, I believe that there is good that is coming out of this virus, and that is the strengthening of relationship between the communities. And we see in every community there is a charity work going on, there is a lot of volunteering going on, there's a lot of support provided to those who need it, and we share these values with the community, and we appreciate these values. The month of Ramadan is a sacred month for the Muslims. And one of the things that has not been spoken about, and that is the generosity of giving during the month of Ramadan, is highly emphasized upon. One of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad would say that the Prophet Muhammad was the most generous of all people, but in the month of Ramadan, he would be even extra generous. He would go out of his way to be extremely generous. So in the month of Ramadan, Muslims tend to follow this advice and this role model by being extra generous in the month of Ramadan. And generosity is something that is highlighted in the month of Ramadan. Apart from the spirituality and the fasting and everything else, generosity and giving, sharing is very, very, very important. I would like to thank you for inviting me to this virtual iftar, and thank everyone for their beautiful words, kind words. And we hope to meet again for the next iftar in the next Ramadan, where we can meet face to face and share some food. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Imam Mohammad, for those very beautiful words and what is essentially a sentiment that has been shared by everyone here, regardless of faith, background, and belief. Now we'll be moving on to watch something rather than hearing someone speak, so to say. We're going to be watching a piece of art being made called Ebru. So just to briefly introduce what Ebru is to you, it is the history of Ebru art. It goes back to the 15th century in Central Asia, so in the Central Asian steppes, and it was further developed throughout the Ottoman Empire. Starting in the 17th century, this art form started becoming popular in Europe as well, when it grabbed the attention of European travelers to the Middle East and has widely been used for book covers and as a background for calligraphy pieces. It is also included in the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage List. So I'd like to introduce Afra Nurdolu Dizgin, who is a marbling artist, amongst other things, who will be demonstrating art live. Sorry to interrupt. Afra, can you hear me? We can't see your image. Hello, Afra. I've had to step in. It's not just me. There we go. Anyway, I'll get you back to it. We can see now. I think all the panelists and all those viewing at home can join me in saying that that was an amazing experience. What seemed like dots on water became marvelous pieces of artwork. So thank you very much, Afra.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the arts. Thank you so much for inviting me. Great to be a part of this event today.
Thank you very much for joining yourself as well. Okay, we shall be moving on from a piece of art into more, to listen to more of our speakers. So I would like to invite Arun Mummalaneni, if I've pronounced that correctly, hopefully, of the Basingstoke Multicultural Forum to speak. The microphone is yours.
Okay. Can you hear me? Good evening, all.
Good evening, we can hear you.
Okay. So Her Worshipful Mayor of Basingstoke, Councillor Diane Taylor, and Deputy Mayor Councillor Onnalee Cubitt, and Right Reverend David Williams, and my dear friend Imam, and rest of the panelists. I feel very honored and privileged to share the panel with you guys. And I don't think I know how much to say other than what you have already shared with this panel. However, as many speakers tell, so every little helps, and I would like to add my penny worth of stuff here. So I would like to share a small story before going further on this. The story is, when I was very small, it happened to myself. When I was very small, whenever the rainbow comes into the sky, I always used to wonder why it has so many colors. And everyone, children we used to say, shout at it and say, oh, rainbow came, let's go and watch it. And my enthusiasm didn't stop there. I started asking everyone, whenever I see it, wherever I am, I used to ask my elder there, what is that rainbow stands for? Why it is colors are all together? And then, every elder has given some examples like, oh, it is a light and the light is being divided. But my little 9-year-old brain couldn't understand what is light and how it is being divided. But at the age of 11 or so, I don't really remember it. And one teacher, I still remember his name, the teacher explained it in a more fashionable way, and that created a lot of impression on my development as well. So one day, he told me, we saw the rainbow, and I asked the same question. Then he came to me and said, okay, look at it, Arun. So what is the color of this blackboard? Okay, you said it's a black. And I said, what is the color of paper? That's white. And he pointed at a few people and asked what the color of their hair, their shirt color or their trouser color, something like that. So can you keep looking at the same color for several days together? And I said, no. If the sky is always the blue, can you keep watching it? And I said, no, I don't watch it every day. But if the grass is always green, do you keep watching it? And I said, I don't do it. But when all are together, why are you watching it? Then I said, oh, it makes beautiful and it gives a special message and it is attractive. Then that's what he explained it. If you map each color to one of your individual friends, and someone is black, someone is red, someone is yellow, someone is this. And if you are individuals, you won't be appreciated. But when you are all together, definitely world admires it. Now I closely associate that one to my Basingstoke. Why am I saying my Basingstoke? Reason is I lived here more than anywhere else. So this Basingstoke is mine and it is ours. And our Basingstoke is a rainbow when we are all diversified together. That is why, that is the theme and behind this Basingstoke Multicultural Forum. We're all together And then this made Basingstoke an amazing stoke. And my Muslim friends, especially the fellowship, I've been attending so many iftars so far. And this is so special because we are in a difficult times. So let me add a few more things about it. The best thing that we can do this Ramadan times is stay home and stay safe with our loved ones and spread the joy of festive. The mankind is going through tough times of the modern age. And the only way to beat this pandemic is staying safe and maintaining social distance, but yet connected through the hearts and minds on this auspicious occasion of Ramadan. Let's commit ourselves in sharing our learnings and earnings with those less fortunate people across the globe. The essence of any religion, of any festival, is to celebrate the joy of togetherness, the joy of sharing, the joy of forgiveness. And challenging times like these lockdown are again reminding us about the real essence of a festival. As rightly said by Muhammad Prophet, correct me if I'm wrong, empathy is a mark of faith, and whoever doesn't believe this empathy don't have faith in them. The learnings of wise, the justice of the great, the prayers of the good, and the valor of the brave are the need of the hour to combat the evil forces and to save the humanity. Let me quote the best words from one of the preachers, from Swami Vivekananda, which are the dividing forces behind my work. Our Basingstoke community, we are what our thoughts made us. So take care of your thought or what you think. Words are secondary. Thoughts lives and they travel far. So let's together make our communities strong and stand together in these pandemic times. Happy Ramadan to all. Before I close, I'll say one thing as well. So recently I came to hear about it. So someone called me and said, Arun, thanks a lot what you have been doing or your community have been doing to social people and all. Then the other people, they said, why are you thanking me? You don't thank sun for not coming in the east every morning. But you ask, son, why didn't come this today? Because we feel that is our responsibility. In this Basingstoke community, it has given me a lot, and it has given me entire career, and I feel it is my responsibility to serve. So if I don't do it, then someone has to ask, so why you are not doing? So it is my family, and my preaching always says one thing that is called Vasudaika Kutumbam, which is a family. World is a family. So when world is a family, if son is not being raised or son is not being fed by father, father feels guilty. I feel the same. If I'm capable, and if I'm not doing it, and if I'm not delivering it, I feel guilty about it. That's what this community, I think everyone in this panel feel the same. They share the same responsibility and same, that is why they're all together here and doing all this together. That's why our Basingstoke has become again an amazing stoke. This COVID-19 has proven, I'm sure it will write it will be in history book. It has a bad memories. However, it has also a good outcomes, which is bringing communities together, and all the people are working towards one direction, that is beating the community, beating this COVID and bringing the community together and helping the needy. Once again, I feel honored to be here. Thank you very much. Over to you, host.
Thank you very much, Arun. And I think we can, all on the panel and all those listening at home, have that sense of responsibility, and they are here with us today. I just want to, before we move on to our next three speakers, I want to say that there is around 15 minutes till iftar time, and many of those watching will be patiently waiting for their food. So if our next speakers keep that in mind and divide 15 by 3, which would be 5. So keep their speeches to around 5 minutes, please. And without further ado, if Mr. Kishor Patel of the Basingstoke Hindu Society can have the virtual microphone.
Thank you very much, everybody, for sharing this iftar. Happy Ramadan, and respected distinguished guest. Hello, everybody. So Kishor Patel, from Chairman of Basingstoke Hindu Society. It's been a privilege and honor to be on the panel today. In these times of great concern, the COVID-19 pandemic and world uncertainty, we are sometimes at a loss, find the mental stability and peace within. Yet we are supported by endless wisdom of the Hindu mantras. The one of them is the whole world is one family. Vasudev Kutumbakam is an old Sanskrit mantra which the Hindus in the text of the Maha Upanishad reminds us of a great quote by Satya Sai Baba. Here is one heart, one thought, one God, one goal. Whether you utter the name Allah, Jesus, Buddha, Zoroaster, or Guru Nanak, it is all the same. The culture of Bharat does not give scope for differences based on caste, creed, color, religion, or nationality. It says, let's move together, let's grow together, and let's share the knowledge and improve upon it. Let us live in peace without any differences whatsoever. I move on to the next Hindu mantra. In English, it's translated as, may all beings, wherever we are, be happy and free, and may the thoughts and words and actions of my own life contribute in some way to the happiness and to that freedom for all. We say, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. It's a powerful mantra that moves us from being ourselves to a cohesive society and think about others during this COVID-19 pandemic. And my favorite and the last one is Seva. The act of Seva is compassion and care for others. The sacred Hindu text, the Bhagavad Gita, encourages selfless service as a way to develop spirituality. And Seva means to sacrifice your time and resources for the benefit of others without expecting anything in return. So over the last several weeks during the pandemic, we have had lots of fun and enjoyment meeting people from different backgrounds, and collectively with the Hindu community, the Nepalese communities, the Sikh communities, the BVA, the Basingstoke Deane and Borough Council, we have collectively cooked over 2,200 meals for the NHS staff. We have collected food parcels for the community. Over 100 boxes have gone out. Food has been donated to Indian students who have been stuck here at universities in UK. And we have collected for the food bank in Basingstoke. So in conclusion, I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting me to the panel. Let's work together and continue this good community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kishor, and very well, thank you for also doing the great work that you've just shared with us today. I'd like to quickly move on. Our next speaker is Dr. George Edicula, who is a medical doctor at the NHS, but also part of the Basingstoke Group for Scriptural Reasoning. Dr. George.
Good evening, everybody who is listening to this Ramadan Iftar event, distinguished guests, and all fellow panelists. I would like to thank the Dialogue Society and the Education Fellowship for asking me to speak on this Ramadan Iftar event. I and my wife, we have both enjoyed attending these events along with our friends from the Basingstoke Scriptural Reasoning. And we are very, very grateful to your hospitality and warmth, and we value your friendship. The only difference being this year, we are terribly, I am terribly missing the excellent spread of food that is usually served. But you have given us a virtual treat today through the artwork and through the greetings that you presented in your video from your lovely children. As Uga mentioned, I work in Basingstoke Hospital. And when I became a doctor about more than 30 years ago, I never thought that I would face a situation like this, a situation that is engulfing the whole world. We are taught about epidemics and pandemics, but we never encountered. We are taught about a stroke, we are taught about how to deal with a heart attack or how to deal with a medical emergency, but not how to deal with a pandemic. So when this was upon us about 2 months ago, it was all very, very new. And what I would like to share with you is few experiences working for the NHS. Now, I thank God for the NHS because it is there always for the people of this country. And we were asked at that time, when the number of COVID patients were on the rise, that all staff were asked to give our names and put ourselves forward to work in other roles. And that was very challenging, very frightening. But what taught me those circumstances was, though people were very uncomfortable to move to other roles, people put themselves forward. And I know so many of the work colleagues who worked in the clinical field. They've gone to become porters, or they worked in the kitchen, or they worked in the engineering department. Even some of them have operated machines cleaning the floors. So people have been very flexible. The morale in the hospital has always been very high, though people worked under immense pressure. And when I had to see a COVID patient, it brought it to light that wearing the PPE, how time consuming it was, and how warm and humid. And all my colleagues who are working in the ITU and on the wards dealing with COVID patients were wearing this PPEs, and they did a marvelous job. So what I would like to share is how the human spirit endeavors and the people, how they put themselves forward in challenging circumstances. But as a Christian, which is very, very integral part of my life and center of my life, I would say, this is a job and we are all here to serve others. But being a medical doctor, it gives an extra dimension that I see people when they are most vulnerable in their time of need. And when I look at Jesus, who I follow, he was compassionate, he was kind, he went around healing people, touching people's life. And my response is that God has saved me, God has redeemed me, God has showed his love to me. And my response is to follow him. And Jesus has commanded to love him and to love others. So that is the energy and the main reason why I serve other people. And when I think about all the challenges, the troubles, and see all the sickness and the suffering, many people question why, but I know God is in charge, God is in control. And many a time we human beings, we think we are self-sufficient, we are independent. And God allows these things to happen so that we may turn to him. There is something beyond what we see in this physical realm, what we see in the spiritual realm. And God wants us to know him, to love him, to obey him and follow him. And I was asked by the society to end my talk with a prayer. And I am going to pray a few words. And before I do that, I would like to read a quotation from one of the Christian writers, C.S. Lewis. And he said, pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. And Jesus did warn his followers, and Jesus did warn his disciples that there will be trouble. But he said, do not let your hearts be troubled, because I have overcome. So God is with us in this trouble. So we are a people of hope. Though we have troubles, God is there to help us, and we look to him for help. Shall we pray? Dear God, gracious Father, we thank you for this time. Thank you for all our Muslim friends. And we pray that we will walk close with you, know you more clearly, love you more dearly. Help us, and we thank for our friendship, our community, and thank you for your love towards us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Dr. George, and especially thank you for the work that you do and the work that your colleagues do at the Basingstoke Hospital. And thank you for your prayers and for sharing such kind words of wisdom and brotherly love for all the community. Quickly moving on before we run out of time, our final, last but not least, speaker is Gulistan Arslan, who is a trustee of the charity Time to Help UK.
Hi, I'm just going to try and make this brief as possible. It's an honor to be here with all of you guys celebrating Eid. I'm going to speak on behalf of Time to Help UK. Just a brief information about it. It's a very registered charity. It's established in London, founded in 2013. We work nationally and internationally. This is the main reason that got me involved. I'm a teacher. I teach design and technology. But what I'm very fond of this charity is that it's very transparent and it engages the community to get involved with the projects, and you can do your mini project. So one of my favorite projects was going Kenya and refurbishing an orphanage, which was my project, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. But before, I don't have time to talk much about it. I want to talk about what we currently do during this pandemic. We used to run an online English language classes for refugees, and there has been an immense increase in that, and we've still carried on doing that. We've also distributed food parcels for the refugee families. We started a campaign called Here to Help, to support the vulnerable and disadvantaged people in the UK. We have given out free food parcels, we've helped people with their shopping, their medication especially. And my favorite was actually the opportunity that this created to build friendship. We got involved in the community so much, we met so much people that it's unbelievable, and it's kept us very positive, and I love that. What was also very fun was we prepared 200 packed lunches with our volunteers to the homeless people. Also talking about the projects overseas during this pandemic. In Greece, we distributed food parcels in refugee camps. In Yemen, we have distributed food parcels as well for the destitute, and also supporting an orphanage. This Yemen project was very popular. One of our volunteers actually started a campaign called the 5 Kick-Up Challenge, where one person tries to kick a football 5 times, donates £5 to this cause, Yemen, and then nominates it to 5 other friends. This was done on Instagram, and it went viral. Everyone got involved, and we've raised so much because of this. Because everyone's at home, they posted videos of themselves, they nominated people. It was amazing. And also in Tanzania, we have supported an elderly home, went to visit, gave some food as well. And also, we will also support the needy people in Pakistan. And these are like an overview of what we've done during this pandemic. And I just want to say that I have seen such big sacrifices done by everyone. Everyone's kind contribution created such a power that I'm very thankful for. This has been a tough time, but a great time, which made me realize to be more thankful to everyone. especially everything I took for granted. It made me realize, especially whilst I was clapping with my neighborhood to the NHS workers, the frontline workers, it made me realize that everyone actually contributed us to being well. Thankfully that we're all here, we're all safe and sound. So I just want to end this program by clapping for everyone who contributed for this. Is that okay, or? I mean, it's just an idea. Can we end like a big round of applause to everyone?
We definitely can. On your go.
I think it's a good way to keep everyone positive.
Very
Thank you,
good
everyone.
idea. Very good idea.
Thank you. I think that's it. We've got less time for the iftar, isn't it? How much time do we have?
It's just about to go in now, so I'm sure everyone is really hungry, and we should probably wrap it up. So I want to say final words. Thank you for being here with us today, for all our viewers and all our panelists. As a means of closing the remarks, I'd like to extend our virtual microphone one last time to anyone who would like to say any final remarks before we ensure that we all nourish ourselves after 18 hours of fasting.
Just a massive thank you from me. It's been really great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for organising it. And I'm in awe of you all for just containing yourselves for 18 hours. Well done. Enjoy it.
Can I offer you a date?
Thank you.
Happy Ramadan.
Virtual date. I'll pick one. Thank you for the virtual date.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. God bless you all.
Right, take care, everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Bye.
Ramadan Mubarak.
I think the live stream has ended, so everyone will have finished and left. Ramadan Mubarak, and I hope you enjoy your iftars if you are fasting with your families, and if not, have a great evening.